Finally, India has breached the fortress at Edgbaston. That venue where India till now had not been able to clock a win. Now India has won the second test against England by 336 runs. This parity now is restored in the series, and it is of course the captain Shubman Gill who has led from the front. Also, Siraj, Akash Deep, they have scripted this famous win that we were expecting, and now finally India has registered its win, its victory on Edgbaston. Well, India took a massive step towards a famous victory despite rain delays, overcast conditions, and England's lower order all combined, and they all tested India's patience. But finally, after a long wait, India managed to win this match. And now let's cut across to India. Today's Nikhil Nas for more on this. Nikhil, truly a historic win for us.
Well, that's right, Anjali. It's not a win. It's an absolute hammering that the English team have received at the hands of this young Indian team, might I add. And what an incredible turnaround, let's not forget, because just a few days ago, we were lamenting the loss of the Indian team losing that first test match in Leeds, in which was a close encounter. India had multiple opportunities to win that first test match as well, but faltered on some very crucial moments in that particular test match. This test match, not many had given this Indian team a chance, especially when they lost the toss and they were put into bat. Remember, this was also the game where they were without their record-in-chief, the number one bowler in Jasprit Bumrah. With all that uncertainty around the Indian team, they clearly went in as the underdogs for this encounter. And from there on, to not only win this test match, might I add, they've dominated this test match. The previous test match that India lost, it was still even-keenly fought. If you take a look at that entire test match, there were moments where India was ahead, there was moments that England was ahead, and in the end, India, the English team just nipped the Indian team right at the post. But in this test match, right from the word go, from the time that they were put into bat, India have absolutely dominated. If I had to look at some of those performers for India, three names really come to my mind. First and foremost has to be that of Shubman Gill, who scored more than 400 runs in one particular test match, also has gone on to make a world record. The only batter to have gotten a double 100 as well as gone past 150 in the next inning of the same test match. That is what Shubman Gill achieved. And from there on, two Indian bowlers have to be spoken about. Number one on that list, Akash Deep. Remember, he did not play the first test match because Jasprit Bumrah was playing. He replaced Jasprit Bumrah for this test match. Many thought that this was not a fair replacement because no one can really fill in the big boots of Jasprit Bumrah. But guess what? Akash Deep has done. He's taken a total of 10 wickets, 4 in the first innings and 6 wickets in the second innings. A total of 10 out of the 20 wickets that the English team have lost in this test match have gone to Akash Deep. That in itself tells you the kind of contribution that this young bowler has come up with. So he is your contributor number 2. And last but not the least, another fast bowler in Mohammed Siraj, who also picked up 7 wickets. 6 he picked up in the first inning, 1 in the second inning. So on the basis of these 3 star performers in Shubman Gill, Akash Deep and Mohammed Siraj, the Indian team has now leveled this series 1-1. Remember, it's a 5 test match series. It was supposed to be a long series for this young Indian team. It was going to be testing their mettle, and what they've shown is that they are fighting this English team tooth and nail, and they are 1-1.
And of course, as you just said, so they've got parity now in the series. So how do you see the way they've played? How do you see this going forward from here? The rest of the series
is very interesting. I need to put this into context because you want to know how things are going to be going forward from here. Let me just give you a bit of a background. What was the number one thing that everyone noticed before this series started? That this is a Indian team that is going to English shores without 2 of their top players, sans Virat Kohli or Rohit Sharma. And many thought that they'd be lambs to slaughter because a young Indian team without their 2 most experienced batters, a young captain captaining for the very first time in Shubman Gill, in English conditions, conditions that have traditionally never favored any Indian team. They only have three series win to show in the history of cricket for since the time that they've been going to England. Out of all the series that they played, they've only won three times: 71, 86, and then 2007. So that in itself tells you what a tough tour it is. All of those things put together, no one really gave this Indian team any chance. Who would have thought at this moment India would be 1-all? So I had to give you a bit of a history to tell you what the future holds. And now, many pundits had predicted 3-1 in England's favour. Somebody said 4-1. We had Michael Vaughan, former English captain, even before this series started, he proclaimed that it'll be 4-0 to England. No chance India have in this particular series with this young team that they've come with. But look where the scoreline is: 1-all, everything to play for. You still have three test matches to go, and you're going to be bolstered by the fact that Jasprit Bumrah is expected to join the squad and strengthen this already very potent Indian bowling lineup in the next test match that will be played in Lords. So I think at the moment it's on an even keel. From where this series started two test matches ago, where England were the clear out-and-out favourites, India fought very well in the first test match. It was a very close encounter. And now they've won the second test match. Dare I say that if I was to combine both the test matches and the one-sided victory that India has had in the second test and the close game that you had in the first test match, if I had to take a look at the combined performances of both teams, you'd have to say probably India has been the better team, even though they are the touring team, playing in alien conditions, playing without their top stars. They've looked like the better team. So everything to play for. I don't think England's going to give up so easily. You have three test matches where conditions might be very different now. You've had two test matches with good batting conditions that has suited the Indian team. You might not now get those conditions in Lords and Manchester. So that will be another test of this Indian team. But right now, nothing to choose between these two teams. And it is really set it up for a mouth-watering series ahead.
And how did England test patience of India? Not just the players, of course. I'm talking about the weather as well, with the rain delays and the, that famous English weather that we all are fairly wary of. How did it test Indian team's patience?
To start with, I think the weather overall has been very good. This is the English summer, and we tend to get a lot of days that are disrupted by rain. We had very few rain interruptions in the first test match in Leeds. In this test match as well, pretty much it's been, play on all days. It's just the final day today, day 5. And it started with ominous signs. It was cloudy to begin with, and then you had rain just before the game was to start. And everyone knew that this was England's game to lose because India clearly had the upper hand. And then the rain came down. And then everyone's thoughts actually went on to the fact that why did India not declare early? I mean, you already had a 400-run lead. Then it swelled to 480. It went close to 500 runs. But India chose to go past the 600-run mark in terms of leads to then give England a chance. And then many would have been questioning that, and had the rain continued and India didn't get enough overs to bowl England out, I think that would have been a major turning point. But all's well that ends well. So the rain then subsided, and you had about a couple of hours that was lost. But after that, they adjusted 1 hour with some extra time that was to be added at the end of the day. That was to come to India's rescue if it needed to be. But then India didn't require that much time. In fact, they needed just about 2 sessions to wrap up the remaining wickets that they had to pick off the England team. 7 wickets they had to pick today because 3 they had picked up yesterday. And 2 sessions were more than enough for the Indian team. Yes, had the rain continued, probably, it may have saved this English team some blushes, but that wasn't to be the case. The rain held back, so the weather gods really smiling on the Indian team. But it's not just the weather. I mean, if I was to give any sort of credit to the weather for this victory of this Indian team, that I'd be doing them a great degree of disservice. I think they've been outstanding, whether it is with the bat, whether it's with the ball. They made a few mistakes in the first test match. One major mistake that we saw in the first test match, the lower order did not contribute with the bat. The second mistake they made was they weren't unable to dismiss the opposition's tail as quickly as they would have liked. And third major mistake that they made was their fielding. They dropped a lot of catches. So, and what have they done in the second test match? Rectified all those mistakes. So not only did India's lower order contribute, they dismissed the opposition lower order, did not allow them to hang on onto the crease for very long, something that they were guilty of in the first test match. And finally, the catching was top notch, barring a catch here or there where they couldn't really hold on to the ball. But overall, outstanding catching. So those three major areas of concern, they rectified it. And here you have it then, a result that's gone in India's favor.
Right. We don't have much time, but I cannot help but ask you. You took a lot of names of who you think are responsible for this win. But if you had to choose one person you say has gained the most out of this win, and not just him gaining, I mean in terms of Indian cricket gaining, who would you name?
That's an easy one, actually. If you had to ask me to pick a man of the match for this game, I would have found it very difficult because there were two real strong contenders in Shubman Gill, Akash Deep.
Okay,
Probably
Nikhil,
I would have
I'm
gone.
sorry I'm interrupting here. Rahul Rawat is joining us from Edgbaston live now. Rahul, do tell us what is the excitement over there. We won the match and it is a historic win. India has not been able to clock a win there. So what's the mood?
Anjali, this is one ground where India has never won a test match in so many years. And this is Birmingham. We have a lot of people from Asian community, especially from India and Pakistan. And for the entire 5 days of cricket that we saw, it was a jam-packed stadium. And also, a lot of people have travelled from London and from the nearby areas. But, for me, if you ask me, I remember on the eve of this test match, Shubman Gill was asked by the British media that we are not aware whether you actually know about your cricketing history, but this ground, you've never won. And what do you think that you never deserved to win a test match here on this ground? And I remember Shubman Gill very smartly and was very straight in his answer that he's not aware of which all teams those were from England. But this is the best cricket team. This is the best Indian cricket team that has come here to Birmingham. And that's what has happened today. This actually is a better team than England. And they've won a test match here right in front of them. And it is not just about, I think India messed up with their minds as far as the English team is concerned. All the hype about Bazball and everything, they've lost by a massive, massive margin. And do remember in the next game, Jasprit Bumrah is going to be back. And with this bowling attack, they would definitely expect that they can beat them at Lord's as well, Anjali.
Right, Rahul. We'll be keeping our eye on that. Thank you very much for bringing us all those details from Edgbaston. And also, thank you, Nikhil, for joining in with your analysis